Mr. Jamie Grant. I want to welcome you to Radical Metal. I got to tell you, one of the great blessings of this show is not only connecting with new people and becoming new friends with folks, but also reconnecting with friends from the past. I know you from feeling, I'll say it, I think it was this strong of a word, but somewhat of a calling to want to learn more about Transcendental Meditation. And that's where I got connected with you in Fairfax. And you were my teacher for Transcendental Meditation about almost exactly 4 years ago. So welcome to Radical Metal, sir.
Great. Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking some time to share more about this. As I've shared with you before, this channel kind of, obviously goes over heavy metal and also politics. And then there's also a health component. Sometimes those things intersect, as you have pointed out to me recently, like Mike Patton of Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. He's a TM practitioner. The guitarist, who I forget his name, from Perfect Circle, as a TM practitioner. There's actually a lot of overlap that I did not expect with heavy metal. But I think a lot of people don't know about Transcendental Meditation, or they think it's some kind of weird spiritual thing, which to some people maybe it is. But I wanted to first start with asking you, to someone who's never heard the term before, how would you explain it to them?
It's a simple, very easy to practice meditation technique that gives the body a very deep level of rest and creates greater orderliness in the mind. And as a result of this, has a lot of health benefits, both for the mind and body. And TM actually is very, very effective at reducing stress. And there are so many stress-related conditions. We all need effective ways of dealing with stress. And how do we deal with stress? What's the antidote? It's rest. And TM gives a very, very deep level of rest. And so it's very effective at helping with the whole range of stress-related conditions. And so it's very valuable for that. But in addition to that, what happens in the mind becomes more orderly, so there's greater creativity. And this is why so many musicians practice Transcendental Meditation, is because there's more free flowing in the mind. Those deeper levels of the mind, there's more energy there's more unboundedness. And so there's greater creativity, but also greater ability to focus, greater ability to be present. All of those are benefits that come from TM, and they're very practical for people living in today's world.
That's like the perfect elevator speech for it. But with that, can you please share some of your background? You've been maybe when you first got into TM, and then how long you've been teaching it?
I learned TM in February of 1973. So it's now 51 years and counting. And I was a college student. I was actually at Harvard when I learned. And there was a at that point, this was before mindfulness, and there was a big wave. And there were a lot of other students who were learning at that time. And for me, it started, why did I learn? Well, I actually remember the time it was right before midterms or semester exams, and I'd been working late, and I was coming out of the library, and I just had, you're tired, you're sort of stressed, and I saw this little poster about TM, and I just had this thought: there has to be something more to life. That was it. Mm-hmm. And this was way before there was research and so forth. So, and it was that. So it was just, but it was in the air. There were people, I met people who learned, and they talked about the benefits. So that's what got me started. And then actually from my very first experience with TM, the day I was taught, I'd never done any meditation before. I wasn't into drugs, like back at that time, there were a lot of people into drugs. And it was but I had this experience of such deep peace. There's that phrase, the peace that surpasses all understanding. That was the experience I had in my first meditation.
Wow.
And I came out of that experience, and the first thought that I had was, I'd like to give this experience to other people. And then couple of months later, I went on my first meditation retreat, and then I decided I'm going to take next year off and I'm going to become a teacher of TM. And so that
Wow.
was it. So I took a year off, became a teacher of TM, and then I did come back and finish, and I taught TM for a few years and went back to get a doctorate, which I have in education, so that I could work with TM in school settings. And I've done that around the country, secondary schools, particularly inner city schools. Stress is a big issue, but stress, of course, is an issue at all levels, at the most elite schools, at the most,
Sure.
and every level. And we need effective ways of dealing with stress. And so, I've done that. I worked at the David Lynch Foundation, which provides scholarship for at-risk populations to learn TM. I was national director of programs for them. I was a professor for a number of years at a university in Iowa where everyone practices TM. I've done different things, but the thing I most enjoy is just teaching TM, giving people the experience of transcending. And transcending, it's just coming back to yourself. It's, turning within and experiencing a deep level of peace within. And it's transformative. And now there's a lot of research, which we can talk about, which confirms that there's great benefit to doing the practice.
That is interesting, and I want to dive into that a little bit. Transcendental is a kind of a heavy word, but I think you broke it down for folks who may be listening. It's really not. It is really just a deep peace, like you said, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be some kind of astral journey into the nether regions.
I mean, to transcend means to go beyond. And so what you're doing in TM is a technique that allows the mind to settle very deeply. So you're transcending the superficial level of the mind. If you think of the mind like an ocean, and an ocean is active at the surface, there are waves at the surface, but down deep it's quiet. And our mind is like that. It's active at the surface and sometimes very active. We feel like we can't turn it off, but there's always a quiet level that underlies that. And what TM is a technique for taking the mind from that active surface level to the quiet level. So we're transcending, we're going beyond that active surface to quieter and quieter levels. And then it's actually possible to transcend or go beyond thought entirely and just experience consciousness by itself. And all the benefits that come from TM come from the mind settling very deeply. When the mind settles very deeply, the body settles very deeply because the mind and body are connected. And what research has shown is that TM produces a level of rest that, at least according to some measures, is deeper than deep sleep. Cortisol levels drop more in a sitting of TM than in a night's sleep. But the mind becomes actually more alert. So there's this unique state of restful alertness that's created in TM. And the benefits that come from TM come from bringing that experience of restful alertness that we have in TM. It becomes stabilized, integrated in our lives. So when we come out of meditation, there's more inner quietness, more inner peace, but also greater alertness, greater creativity, greater ability to be present.
That has definitely been my experience as well. When I feel its impact at its best, I'll share what my breakdown of the tools you use to get to that deep rest, and maybe you can fill in the gaps, anything that I missed. But in case people don't know, typically you go through when you get a teacher, and your teacher will give you a mantra, and that mantra is yours, and it's kind of yours and privately yours to keep to yourself. And correct me if I'm wrong there, but then typically the teaching is to teach the student to do it twice a day at least, usually 20 minutes each time. And for those 2 sessions a day at 20 minutes, to repeat that mantra that you're given in your head. And then if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just once you notice your mind wandering, say you're thinking about something else, just come back to the mantra and keep going. And don't worry about it too much. Don't be stressed out that you're going away from the mantra. Just come back to it, and then just and continue it for those 20 minutes 2 times a day. What did I miss in that? I might have oversimplified it.
No, that's good. The mantra is a vehicle for helping the mind to settle. And so that's really the function of the mantra. And what distinguishes TM from other techniques, most other meditation techniques, is that it's effortless. It's completely easy. And that's essential, because the transcending process is the process of the mind becoming more settled. And so if you're putting effort or control in a practice, or if you're doing guided meditation, which is the most common form today, first of all, you're listening to something, so your attention's going out. Secondly, you're processing what's being said on the intellectual level. That keeps the mind active. So with TM, you have a meaningless sound, which is a mantra, and that's the vehicle. And that's it's a sound that TM comes from an ancient meditation tradition in India, and the sounds have the effect of helping the mind to settle. So you think it, but you think it really easily. You're not focusing on it, and if you think it easily, you're going to lose it. And losing it is actually part of the practice. When you transcend fully, you lost it, and that's the practice. And then when the body settles deeply, it gets rest. Rest is the most powerful antidote to stress. And so then the body begins to throw off stress. And that's what brings you out. So in TM, it's not like you're going someplace and you're sitting there for 20 minutes and then you come out. You're settling down, you're getting rest, stress release brings you out, you come back, and it's a cycle. But it's very easy, just like you said, Jesse. I mean, that's the key thing. It's easy and natural. It's a natural technique. And that's what makes TM very doable. That there isn't a sense of, you're not trying to have a certain experience. So, you can't really fail with the practice as long as you're being easy with it. You can't fail with the practice. It's very forgiving in that way. But because it's easy, it's profound.
I do find it interesting that on your very first time, you kind of got to a very deep piece. I'm not sure that's the same experience with everyone else. Now, interestingly, it's not the same thing, but I remember when you were teaching me and we met, and for 10 minutes, we did it for 10 minutes, right? That was the first one-on-one. I hope I'm not giving away anything, but I don't know if that's a secret. But and I remember I had very intense back pain that day. I don't have chronic back pain, but I had from the gym or something, and that pain melted away when we did it that first time for 10 minutes, which I thought was fascinating. Yeah. But I think you expressed to your students, me being one of them, that there's not some kind of goal, like you just said, there's not something you're trying to get to per se. So it's not like I'm going to say my mantra until my back pain goes away, but that was an interesting experience that it just melted away. The experience may be different for many people, and
it's different for everyone. It's different. Yeah. It's different for everyone. And certainly the experience that I had when I first learned, it was not the experience of most people, but we all have different experiences and they're meaningful. But most people with their very first meditation, they feel that something significant, it's different. If you've done other forms of meditation or you haven't, it doesn't matter. But most people have a sense of settling deeply and feeling it feels good. And yeah. And you have the sense, if I could do this regularly over time, my life is going to be better. And that's one of the really nice things about teaching TM, is that people do feel benefits quickly. And then that becomes a motivator, to do it. It's not like, you got to do it for 3 months before you experience benefits. Oftentimes, even from the first meditation, you feel benefits.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out one other thing too. It's funny because I'm actually sitting cross-legged right now. But you don't, I don't want to just dispel the myth that you don't have to be like this. You can just sit in a chair and have your hands on your knees, and do it just like that. And is that typically what you teach? It's not, because I've heard some people, they'll do TM as they're walking, which sounded strange to me.
No, you can't do that, because again, the benefits that come from TM come from the mind settling deeply. If you're walking, your attention has to be out. You've got to see what you're doing. You've got to be alert to some degree. And so, the mind can't settle deeply, and then you don't get the benefit. So, well, Jesse, let me ask you.
Sure.
what effects have you felt from TM? So you've been practicing now for 4 years.
4 years.
4 years, and you've been, you've kept at it. Why, have you done this?
Well, I have kept at it for the most part. I've had periods where I didn't do it for one reason or another, but definitely always come back to it. And in anticipation of this interview, I've been thinking a lot about it, and one very profound thing to me, I would say the number one benefit that I've received from the practice that I didn't share with you the other day because for some reason I didn't think about it, but is TM for me led to a place where I don't know if it was because of greater awareness that came as a result of the practice or whatnot, but in terms of even in my waking life and not while I'm meditating, and if I am confronted with severe pressure or anxiety or fear or frustration or anger, what TM, where TM led to me, that I found extremely beneficial is to sit with it. And that totally dissects it and decomposes it. Whatever negative uh, feeling that I'm having. So maybe I'll say it a different way. TM taught me how to, one, have a radar for when I'm feeling something I don't like. And instead of trying to fight it, which normally would make it worse or ignore it or do something to avoid it, I've learned to sit with it. And I actually kind of almost picture myself in a room with it, whatever that, say it's anger. I'm angry, something at work, and I'm angry. I sit with it. Okay, why I'm angry, and I just feel the anger and dissect it, and just sit with it and be present with it, and then it goes away. I don't think I would have gotten there, and I'm not like that all the time. I've definitely, you know, I'm not the perfect Buddha every time I have a strong emotion, but it's been so useful to just be able to sit with it. And I don't think I would have gotten there or realized this. I'm calling it a technique for me now. If I hadn't have done TM, and it's same with fear too. Fear, anxiety. Okay, what is it? Let's sit with it. Let's not be afraid of it. Let's just feel it, and then and sit with it and have a conversation with it almost, and let it, and then it melts away. I feel.
Great.
Yeah, that's the big one. But the the other one,
And do you find that you're less reactive to things at all?
Sure, yeah. And especially if I'm really in tune with that. And there's reasons why sometimes maybe I'm not as much, and sometimes am more in tune with it, and probably directly correlated whether or not I'm doing 2 times a day or if I've fallen off the TM wagon, let's say. But yeah, where you're almost seeing it in real time, what's happening, and maybe it's an awareness of your triggers, and you see it coming on, and I can see it and respond before I react. If that makes sense.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, this is what the research shows on TM, is that psychologists have this term, greater inner locus of control or field independence. So inner locus of control means that you're in control rather than outer locus of control where the environment's in control.
Yeah.
You're stronger in yourself. You're more grounded in yourself. And so you're less reactive. You can respond in ways that are appropriate rather than ways that are damaging, which, we oftentimes tend to do.
That's exactly, I think, what I'm saying, and that's how I'm in control, is what I just described. I think, and I don't think I would have gotten there without the practice of TM.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And you mentioned it earlier, you started and there wasn't all this research. Now there's an infinite amount of research backing up with science the benefits of TM. How has that evolved, and how could anybody even ignore the overwhelming evidence of the benefits of TM at 2024?
First of all, let me just share some what the research is. So, there's a research on the physiological side of things, showing that there really is this unique state that's created, both in terms of what's happening in the brain and what's happening in the body. And then the effects of that on the body, so on physical health, the NIH has funded more than $25 million of research on TM. And they've shown, a number of studies have shown that blood pressure comes down more than from many blood pressure medications. And the NIH funded a 5-year longitudinal study on people who'd had heart attack or stroke. Why is blood pressure a big concern? Because high blood pressure is a precursor to heart disease, and heart disease is the biggest killer in the world. So what this study did was it took more than 200 people who'd had a heart attack or stroke. And if you had one, you're more prone to having another one. And it randomized them, divided them into 2 groups. One was treatment as usual, medication, exercise, and diet. The other was treatment as usual plus TM. They followed them for 5 years. And over that 5-year period, the TM group had 48% fewer heart attack, stroke, and all-cause mortality. I mean, it's a really, really profound effect. And, other research has shown healthcare costs go down across the board. Illness is caused by when the body goes out of balance, and TM is a way, through the reduction in stress, through the increase in balance in mind-body functioning, it makes us more balanced. It directly promotes health. And so research has shown that, hospital admissions for cancer, 54% reduction. Hospital admissions for nose, throat, and lung, which includes, COVID sorts of things, 75% less. And, it's because a disease isn't just caused by a virus or bacteria, it's when it's in a susceptible organism. And when you meditate, you're stronger, you have more resilience. And so, we know with COVID, it's people with compromised nervous systems who are most at risk, whereas some people have the virus and they're asymptomatic. How's that possible? It's possible because they're strong. Mm-hmm. And so TM creates that inner strength. And so there's that value for physical health. And then on the mental health side, TM is really effective for reducing anxiety, for, insomnia, which is obviously a stress-related condition, depression, PTSD. TM is very, very effective for PTSD. We've done a number of studies on veterans with PTSD. And, so it's, the thing, modern medicine doesn't have a cure for stress. Mm-hmm. They don't have a pill that can prevent it. They don't have a pill that, they have pills that mask the effects of it, mm-hmm. but they don't get rid of it. And TM actually gets rid of it. And it creates like a vaccination against stress because stress happens when we're overwhelmed. And as we become stronger in ourselves, we don't get overwhelmed as much. So we don't get as stressed by someone cutting us off in traffic or someone saying something, unkind towards us. So anyway, there's a lot of research now, fighting burnout, which is a big issue. And so it has it's very practical in today's world.
Can you speak to, being kind of a heavy metal channel and also talking to a lot of bands, unfortunately with, probably all music, not just heavy metal, but there's a lot of addiction out there, whether it's just alcohol or drugs. Is there anything you can speak to how TM helps with addiction?
Sure. And there is actually research directly on addiction showing that TM reduces addiction. Mm. And the thing with addiction is that's the outer locus of control. What's in control? It's the substance. Mm-hmm. And, and you need it. And as you become more grounded, you're more self-sufficient. You don't need those things. And addictions, also, why are we addicted? It's because we're lacking something inside, that we're finding in the drug or the alcohol. And TM, fills that. So you don't have the same needs from within for those things. And that's why naturally, it drops off. And so Bill W., the founder of AA, he has a 12-step program. The 11th step is meditation. He learned TM late in life. And he said that if he had learned TM earlier, he would have made TM the 11th step.
And instead of just meditation, he would have said transcendental meditation.
Transcendental meditation.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's a really interesting fact.
Some people notice that they're just naturally, they're drinking a little bit less or whatever. As you become more sensitive to your body, you just naturally do things that are healthier. It's not that someone's telling you you've got to do this. Your body wants it. And so
Yeah. Well, no, I really resonate with what you're saying about it's kind of control. If you're in control, which is a result of the practice, then you don't need. It's harder for something else to control you.
That's right.
Whether it be a substance or whether it might be mood swings or prone to anger or whatnot, which I guess maybe are some of my things. So I think that's a really interesting point. And it's hard. It's maybe you could articulate it better. Maybe you already have, but how the practice gets you into more control. Can you talk to that again? You alluded to it earlier, but what is it about the practice that puts the person practicing in more in control?
Well, it's a really good question. And so the big idea that underlies TM is that we all have within us a strong, stable level of the mind that we're not accessing. And, our education system is totally devoted towards going out, studying books, hearing teachers, so forth. And we don't have ways of connecting with ourselves. And we all have within ourselves a strong, stable level of self. And TM, through the transcending process, we get, anchored in that. And so we're stronger in ourselves. And, that analogy of the mind being like an ocean with waves at the surface, we all live in the waves. I mean, the world brings good things to us, bad things to us. Things are changing all the time. I mean, that's the up and down of the waves. With TM, you're anchored in this quiet, more stable level of the mind. And so you're not tossed around in the same way by those waves. And so that's it. But it's this idea that deep within, we have this stable, strong level. We all do. That it's a resource that we can connect to and, has huge value for our life.
I love that. I love that metaphor. If you're someone who can realize that you're being tossed and turned by the waves, TM is a way to center yourself so you can be more resilient. I certainly, and that's another benefit too. I certainly got much more interested in health. Why I have a health element to radical metal is because of TM. I remember it very clearly. It was in the throes of the pandemic. I started practicing TM, and then all I wanted to know is how to better take care of myself. It started a trend of, and that's why I'm doing things like cold plunge. I was going to ask you, what is TM? How has TM led to maybe more beneficial habits or practices outside of the TM experience? Has there been anything for you personally that TM has opened up and it's something you've been doing in your life?
Well, it's, I learned TM when I was 19 years old. So
Yeah.
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit hard to, obviously that was a very, very different phase, than where I am right now. But I think the fact, attuning, I'm very sensitive to what is good for me and what isn't good for me. And,
Yeah.
and you don't want to do things that make you feel bad, and so that has been really healthy. And I think, one of the things, as part of that is getting exercise, and prioritizing things like that. And sleep too is really important. Research says that, how important getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep is. And so just being more attuned to that. And that's had, also, obviously exercise is really helpful for us. Sleep is really good for us. And so you put it together. And this is the thing about TM, is it's an enabler of other wellness elements. I mean, because you become more oriented towards it. So you do these other things which are helpful. And so, so those are things that have been, for me, I also, TM is not a lifestyle, but I did become a vegetarian, and I feel very, good about that.
That's really interesting to hear it that way. It's not a lifestyle, but it can impact your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's another kind of myth that I'd love to dispel, is that you don't have to be some kind of hippie or something to do TM. Anybody can do it. You just try to do the practice, do it twice a day. Hey, see what happens. Likely your life will change for the better. But it's not like you have to be a certain way, dress a certain way, eat a certain way, in order to be a practitioner of it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the beauty of it. And, so many different people meditate, lots of well-known people,
Jerry Seinfeld that's a big one. Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld is a really strong exponent of TM. Ray Dalio, who's the founder of the largest hedge fund in the world, he's gotten many billionaires to learn TM. It's stressful to be in the financial world. You have Oprah Winfrey, who's done everything under the sun. She said that she learned TM about 12 years ago, and she has said that learning TM was one of the most beneficial, life-enhancing things she's ever done. Wow. And that's a powerful statement coming from someone like Oprah, who's done so many things. So you have, well-known musicians. Of course, TM first became famous when the Beatles.
Beatles, yeah, Maharishi and the Beatles, right?
And their most productive, sort of creative musical period came after they had spent several weeks in India with Maharishi on a retreat, and that's when they did the White Album. And it's widely recognized to be the most creative period. And again, it's because of that creativity that comes from going within and accessing that deeper level. It's not only a level of greater strength and settledness and peace, but also creativity and energy. And and the two remaining Beatles meditate to this day, and they're strong supporters of TM.
Ringo and Paul, huh?
Ringo and Paul.
I remember telling you that we were looking at, when I was at Deloitte Consulting, we were looking into maybe having a class there, and I remember telling you, I'm like, I almost don't want to share it because it kind of gives me a leg up over here. Because it's a little competitive, not a little, maybe a lot. And I was, of course, joking, but when I learned it, man, with the benefits that happened right away, I felt the same way. I just wanted to share it, and expose other people to it, and give them a window into what I was feeling, which was great, for all the reasons you mentioned. I have to ask, I'm going to switch gears. Any good David Lynch stories while you're working with David Lynch?
Well, David Lynch, if people know who David Lynch is, and I don't know if in the heavy metal group, but they're more attuned, because David is, of course, extremely creative, someone who's, he just lives his own life, and he doesn't. And but the interesting thing about David in person is he's an extremely kind, sweet individual. He's not, I mean, you see some of the movies and the focus on stuff is, but as a person, there's this purity about him, of his being, which is that's what really surprised me, meeting him and doing some things with him. A really nice human being. Really nice human being. And so, yeah.
No, that's great. And in case you don't know, most people do. Lost Highway was one of his movies.
Blue Velvet.
Blue Velvet. Yeah, some amazing ones. And and David Lynch is a smoker. And I only say that because it's not like, I don't want people to think that just because you do TM, you have to be a goody two shoes either.
No.
I mean, he's benefited greatly from it, and he's still a cigarette smoker. It's not like.
Well, I think he actually finally stopped.
Oh, really? Good.
Well, he now has. 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with emphysema.
Oh.
So that will stop you.
Yeah.
But nobody, he did maintain. He said he drinks his coffee, lots of coffee. He likes his coffee, and he said he liked the taste of cigarette. He liked the smoke. He liked the experience of it. So he stayed with it. And that's the thing. It isn't a lifestyle. You do, it's something that that adds to to your life, and all different. And that's the thing with TM, is it makes you stronger in yourself. And it's a fortunate thing in this world that we're different, so we enjoy different things. We can each make different contributions. It'd be a really dull world if everyone was the same.
Yeah, and these crazy times, and I know every generation's probably crazy, and everybody thinks their generation might be the darkest or the doomiest, but it is pretty stressful. The political environment, and just name something to get depressed about or to be pushed around about with the waves. So why not get as centered as you can, so you can be as resilient as you can?
This actually leads me to share that for 2 months, starting on September 15th, the TM organization is launching a national Meditate America campaign, and it's to reduce stress during this election period, because people get more stressed. You begin thinking, oh, if that person wins or that person wins, the world is going to go to wherever, and people are very stressed. And so we're launching this national Meditate America campaign to encourage people to meditate, to promote the idea, and associated with it, there's going to be special course fees for TM, which has never happened before. So it makes TM more accessible to people. And so it's a big, it's a big thing. And so we'll see what's happening. And so I'm talking to you, and maybe a few people will hear this. And if you're interested in TM, you just go to tm.org, and up at the top, there's a little box that says Find a TM Teacher. You put in your zip code, and then it sort of connects you with where the nearest TM center is, and there are centers all around the country.
But if you're in Fairfax or Northern Virginia, I recommend going to Jamie Grant. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm impressed that not only did we go to heavy metal, we also went into politics, and it really is a through point through all of that with that last point. Let me ask you this: is there anything, any other benefits or thoughts that you had that really people should know about that I might have neglected to ask?
Just a really important point to bring out about TM is that it's a technique for unfolding full potential. We all have a potential that's much greater than we use. And the reason why we're not living our full potential is we're not accessing the full potential of the mind. And we can't access the full potential of the mind without having a technique for going within and experiencing those deeper levels and connecting us with that deepest level of the mind. And that's why TM is so transformative. It really is a technique for making life better in a profound way. And it's easy. One of the things about TM that I know can be off-putting for people is this idea of 20 minutes twice a day. And it's like, that seems like a lot of time. Why would I want to spend 20 minutes twice a day meditating? And the point is that you feel better. The experience itself is pleasant. It's not a hard thing. It's a way of refreshing yourself, or in the morning helping to wake up, in the afternoon of de-stressing. And time passes quickly, usually in meditation. So it's not like you're counting the minutes. It's something that's enjoyable. You feel refreshed afterwards. And so you like doing it. And that's what allows people to meditate for many years, go on over time. And so anyway, but it's for everyone, it's for everyone. It's not a religion. You touched on that point, but all religions are belief systems. And with TM, there's no belief. It's just a technique. And so it's compatible. And TM has been taught around the world. More than 10 million people have learned around the world, and all religions. And it doesn't, because there's no belief involved, it's not conflicting with with whatever. If you have a particular belief system that's that's important to you, it doesn't conflict with that. I mean, certainly all major religions would say it's better to be more peaceful than to be more stressed or more, so it contributes if you are more oriented in that direction. It allows you to be a better Christian or a better Muslim or a better Hindu or a better, it's just, it does. It allows you to be a better person. And for TM, it's not just something you do for yourself, because by transforming yourself, you have a better influence on your environment, whether it's your your spouse, your children, your friends, your colleagues at work. It's a way of having something you do. It helps you to make a more positive impact on the world. And so, it's worth trying. It really, go to an introductory presentation. It's really worth doing.
And if you do it too, I mean, there's a fee associated with it, just like with anything. Think about these monthly fees for like mindfulness apps or things like that. TM, it's a one-time deal, right? Maybe you can split up your payments if that's beneficial to you. But and then for life, after that, for life, you can go back to any TM center in the world, right?
And you get an app too that you have for life. It's updated and has. Do you have your app? I mean, you learned right before the app, so.
You told me about it when we talked the other day, and I haven't downloaded yet because I just didn't.
But anyway, it's a great resource. And I mean, it really is. And the fee is graded according to household income. So if you're making less, you don't have to pay as much. And this is because we want everyone who wants to be able to learn. But at the same time, we need to pay the center rent. There's a national organization that does advertising. All those things cost money. And so, so that's why there's a fee, but it really is, it's a remarkable value. And so it's worth looking into.
Yeah. Well, I would be surprised if anybody listening to this isn't at the very least compelled or intrigued to maybe look a little more. And I want to offer my listeners, if anybody wants to ask me about it, you can either leave some questions in the comments or just reach out to me. I'm probably friends with most of you anyway. And I'm happy to talk more about it too, or maybe put you in touch with someone near you, or maybe even Jamie if you're in the local area, if you have any more questions about it. But Jamie, I really appreciate your time. This was great. It was great to reconnect with you, as I said in the beginning. And it was also good for me to get a refresher. Some of these benefits and some of the research and some of these thoughts, either I hadn't thought about in a long time or we're hearing for the first time. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Great. Well, it's my pleasure. And as you can tell, I enjoy talking about TM, sharing. I mean, it's really, it's so thanks for having me, and really nice to connect with you. And you're looking well. And it's nice how you're, the fact that you're branching out and doing other things like this too. That's with TM, you just, as your potential unfolds, you do more. And
well, that's interesting. I wonder if that also has added to that some courage there to kind of pursue things that, for me, it's like I have some passions here that are creeping in. I'm going to pursue them, and I'll get clarity as I go along, and that's okay. I don't need to have it all figured out, and I'm loving it. I'm loving this channel, and And I think I bet a lot of that could be rooted back to it as well, because it comes back to that centeredness, and which also comes with centeredness and control. Also comes courage, I think.
No, it is. I mean, again, that's more inner locus of control. You're in control of your life. So when you feel that, then you have the courage to do what you want to do. And that's, the term that psychologists use for this optimal state of psychological development is self-actualization. So you've actualized the potential of yourself. You're more connected, and then you have that courage. I mean, it's a natural. You're not afraid of the environment. That's being out of locus of control.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Well, thanks again, Jamie. And I'll let you know when we post this. Like I said, it might be a little while because we got so many in the hopper, which is not always the case, but recently it is the case. And I'll be sure to send you the link.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds good. And again, really nice to see you, and thanks for having me.
All right, thank you, Jamie. We'll talk soon, okay?